Hello, I'm Nick, and welcome to Dinner and a Review Show. So before I go right into this movie I'm about to review, I bet you all are wondering why I didn't take the time to review Captain America Brave New World in this last month. And I will give you the quick notes to the review I would have given you. It was a half-baked, disappointing, rushed superhero movie that even Harrison Ford himself couldn't save as a CGI Red Hulk. In the end, it was bland and forgettable. Alright, moving on. So the movie I'm about to review for you is Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17. Bong Joon-ho is back with Mickey 17, a sci-fi thriller starring Robert Pattinson as a disposable worker who dies and gets replaced by a clone every time things go south. But when an extra Mickey shows up, it throws the whole system into chaos, with existential dread, corporate paranoia, and Pattinson once again questioning reality. Does this film serve up something fresh, or is it just more of the same? Let's dig in. So another fun fact about myself is I love sci-fi. I breathe sci-fi, I live sci-fi, I know sci-fi, I bleed sci-fi, I love everything sci-fi. And this looked like it was going to be a very interesting take on the sci-fi genre, given Bong Joon-ho's known reputation as a director. So this movie stars Robert Pattinson, Naomi Ackie, Steven Yeun, Toni Collette, and Mark Ruffalo. And I just gotta say, this was a very interesting original story, but it could be a little heavy-handed on some of the directions that they decide to take in this movie. And do I think it broke new ground? No. Did I think it captivated me and held my interest into the story? Absolutely. I loved Robert Pattinson in this movie, and what he did and brought to the table, and what you saw him go through in this movie. You believed the struggle, you believed his desperation to what led him to where he was, and then living to regret that said decision only to find a said purpose later on in the movie. And he does a dual role in this movie, playing two versions of himself, because based on the plot that I have given you at the beginning, he dies a lot in this movie, hence the name Mickey 17. He's Mickey 17, and he's going up against another version of himself, which is also the name of Mickey. I actually believe the dynamic that he had with himself. Like, there's a different version of himself that he's also trying to compromise, fight, and argue with, and also get the mission done in and of itself, moving the story along. And you actually see the duality between the two. One's one side, one's the other, and you see them get along up until a certain point in the movie that you actually being like, okay, now we're on an even keel, we're on the same page to go after one particular end game or end goal. That ends up being pretty interesting given the premise of the film. So yeah, that's my love for Robert Pattinson in this movie. He stole the show. I loved him in this role as Mickey. And Naomi Ackie as the love interest in this movie, I actually bought the heart that she had. I loved the wittiness that she had. She even had like a strong personality. I loved her defense for Robert Pattinson's character Mickey in the movie, and you actually felt the sense of defense. You actually felt the companionship. You felt the devotion that they kind of had, and the synergy between the two. You actually see the dedication to who she is as a character and who she's devoted to in the movie that give them the connection. Mark Ruffalo, he was horribly miscast. I'm sorry. That's the one sore thumb in the entire movie that made me go, why did they pick him as this character? And I'm going to go even deeper as to why I feel like this should have been a bit more nuanced, or someone who can portray nuanced versions of a political figure in this movie, which he kind of plays. I just couldn't buy him as a threat. I couldn't buy him as this intimidating force. What makes it weird is you're also supposed to buy him as a nice guy. I couldn't buy him as a nice guy to think that he had some evil undertones with him. So that's kind of what made me go, I think Bong Joon-ho kind of got the shaft on his casting choices. I don't know if he deliberately picked him or not, or if that's what he was going for, but Yeah, it kind of missed the mark entirely on that for me. So Mark Ruffalo was the sour part of it. Toni Collette was more of a threat in this movie, which you sense the craziness, you sense like the whole like ignorance of what she does. And what's weird is she defends Mark Ruffalo's character in the decisions that he makes in this movie. But I'm like, you're more of a threat than he is. If anything, the roles should have been swapped as to who had more of a political power over the other. I don't know. I'm just being biased on it, but it could have been handled better. Let's talk about like the effects and the tone as a whole. So as you know, Bong Joon-ho is known to take weird, dark elements into off-branded kind of genres, and this time he did it with sci-fi. And if you've seen the movie Parasite, I'll be honest with you, this was kind of my first introduction to Bong Joon-ho's work. I didn't even finish Parasite, I'll be honest with you, but I will, and when I do, I'll have another review for you on that one for another time. But this movie had a lot of funny moments in dark, twisted ways where, like, if anything, it was kind of hard for me to like die hard laugh at it. I couldn't help but feel like light chuckles, but I guess I don't have that dark of a sense of humor as the people that go to see these movies do. But like I do admire the originality, but I did chuckle and smile at some parts. But then in about 2/3 of the movie, it kind of felt heavy-handed with its message. I'm pretty biased on this one myself, and I really would say that it's open for interpretation for me. You either see it one way or the other, but it's because of Mark Ruffalo's acting and his portrayal as his character is pretty on the nose with what he is representing or what he's trying to represent, and that just kind of took me out of the film a bit. It's the end game that kind of like took a dip for me, because I was like, oh, so this is where we're going with the movie, where it kind of felt like a James Cameron movie. And no, I'm not talking 80s James Cameron like Aliens or Terminator. I'm talking Avatar James Cameron, where there's the save the space whales kind of thing. But again, not going to go into spoilers, but when you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. As for the effects in the film, like it did feel like a sci-fi movie. A sci-fi movie I would typically enjoy, but it wasn't anything groundbreaking like Dune or Blade Runner or anything like that. But it held the candle to being like what it's known for, to be a sci-fi tone. So in the end, I found this movie enjoyable. I found it entertaining. I was interested, but in the end, I kind of felt like I probably won't trouble myself to see it again, but I don't regret not seeing it. So that being said, I enjoyed all the scenes with Robert Pattinson in it. He stole the show. He was the movie. Naomi Ackie was great. Mark Ruffalo, horribly miscast. Toni Collette, more intimidating than Mark Ruffalo. Even Steven Yeun's scene, I barely touched on Steven Yeun, but he was pretty good. He was fun. We all know him as Glenn. We love him as Glenn. He kind of plays like a dickish version of him in this movie, but that's the thing, is you can't help but see Glenn every time you see him in a movie. And yeah, in the end, the rating I'm going to give this movie is solid serving. So yeah, it wasn't bad, it wasn't terrible, it was enjoyable, but it's not for everyone. It certainly piqued my interest up to a certain extent until I was just like, I don't think I'm going to go around to see it again. I mean, I love sci-fi still, and I do want to see more of Bong Joon-ho's work. I heard Snowpiercer was great. I still got to finish Parasite, so I'll probably get around that when the time comes, and I'll probably have reviews for that and later on. So in the end, thank you for watching, and please subscribe. And remember, I watch it so you can savor it.